similar to the other show, so just a different theme here. Ritu weren't able to start the first show because she was up in the air on the plane. So, Ritu, welcome. How are we doing?
Danny, it's a pleasure and it's a great honor to be co-hosting this show with you. I am super excited about the topic and we have so much to discuss. This will be fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
So today, what we're going to be covering?
So, I was thinking that there's so much going on in the world of AI.
Hmm.
There's new developments every single day. There's new models coming out. There is new opportunities to get more agentic, more and more agentic. Um, but I was really thinking that this might be a good opportunity for us to kind of not take a step back, but kind of just go back to basics and
Hmm.
look at some fundamentals that will really help propel people in the right direction when it
Yeah.
comes to using AI in their, everyday businesses, because there's so many shiny objects. You've got to start somewhere. So
Mm.
we kind of wanted to provide like this anchor,
Yeah.
some sort of grounding, like a starting point where we could discuss some fundamentals and then take it from there. And when I say fundamentals, I'm not talking about prompting or basics like that. I'm assuming that people have gotten past that initial kind of where do I start kind of phase, and now they're at a
Mm.
phase where, gosh, I've got to make this practical. I've got to make it usable and useful in my business. So, just focusing on the practical side of things is what I was thinking. What was on your mind, Danny?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned about artifacts. I mean, I live in Claude, and it's quite
Yes.
interesting because
Hmm.
the way I see it now is that we can keep switching between options. You know, we can have this model, and we can go to OpenAI, and we can do this, and we can do this. And what I've done is because of the speed at which AI works, at the pace we're operating at the moment, it's not months, years, it's days and weeks.
Hmm.
So I've betted on Claude. So Claude is my main setup. So when you see in the groups and they're pasting the benchmarks, well, this does this and this does this, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Claude will do it in 2 weeks. I'm going to sit tight because the reason I say that
Mm.
is Claude is in a music producer sense. When I used to
Mm.
produce records and was an engineer,
Mm.
you have your work pad, like it could be a drum machine, or you had it on your laptop and you had limitations before you took it to the big studio, right? But it was a
Right.
place where you knew inside out and you can get your ideas down in seconds and minutes. And for me, this is all about flow,
Mm.
creativity. An idea strikes, you want to get that down. And if you have to keep switching between different models, different platforms, and everything else, and you don't know the full scope or at least a lot about it, you're never going to get the most out of anything. So,
Hmm.
you mentioned artifacts. I love Claude artifacts, and I kind of
Yeah.
pushed it as far as possible.
Mm.
Um, but you're going to do some demonstrations. You
Yes.
mentioned
Yes.
what do
Hmm.
you want to do in terms of the discussion around artifacts? Are we going to do a bit of background setting, or are we going to go straight into the shared screen? What would you like?
Yeah, so I think the term artifacts, it does require some explanation. Like it isn't the most intuitive thing when it comes to something that's sitting inside of an AI platform. So I
Mm.
think maybe just a quick, uh, understanding of what is artifacts on Claude, and just a little, screen share with examples of what artifacts people are creating. And then I can maybe share some examples of artifacts that I've worked on recently and how powerful they are when it comes to automation.
Yeah,
So yeah, what do you think of that?
sounds good. Let's get it on the road.
Okay,
We'll bring your
alrighty.
screen up.
Hmm. Yes, I will just share my screen. Um, Presentation screen.
So for those listening back on the podcast, obviously you can go to YouTube and check it out from there. So you
Hmm.
get a visual experience, but we do try and make sure it's covered for both. Okay.
Right, right. Yeah. Okay, so when you log into Claude with your Gmail or any other authentication that you've used, this is what you're going to see, like just like a kind of a field where you can enter what you want help on. But if you focus on the left side, on the left pane, there is this thing called artifacts. And artifacts are basically like mini tools is the best way I can describe them. They are little tools that you can create when you're chatting with Claude, and it just does this really cool interactive split screen, and it starts to show you what that app might look like, and it starts to evolve it as you chat with it. So it's almost like you're having a conversation with Claude on the left side of the pane, and on the right side, this app is getting developed before your eyes. And it is kind of cool. The way I discovered this was kind of by surprise because I was looking for some code. I was asking Claude for some code that I could then use in Google Apps Script, which is kind of one of my favorite ways to use coding. I'm not a programmer, by the way. I don't identify as a programmer, but I like to have these LLMs create like pieces of code that I could use in different places and so on. So that's how I started asking a question of Claude and said, I want to create this tool, this app that does this, and this. And then suddenly Claude switches to this two panel layout. So the left side I was chatting, and the right side I see this app getting developed before my eyes. Believe it or not, Danny, this was a simple app. I just wanted to have like a team time zone uh, lookup, because I have people in almost every country of the world. Well, not 192, but there's a lot of time zones that I have to deal with, and we have to deal with as a team. So I was just saying, what's the best way to create a time zone calculator where I can put in my time zone, and then I can see everybody else's time zone in one view, so that I don't have to check, oh, XYZ, what is hers, and so on. So when I started asking that question, it just created that, time zone calculator for me on the right side. And that was kind of cool because I was like, whoa, this is cool. I can just come back here and use it. But no, it gets even better because essentially I could download that app as an HTML, right? So for those of you who don't know programming, just know that an HTML standalone app can exist on your desktop. So if you just download the HTML version of that app that you're seeing within Claude, you can run it offline, you can run it any time of day or night, and you can share that with your team, and then they all get to see what that is and they can use it as well. So that was how I accidentally discovered Artifacts, but let me show you where they live. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see it, but for those who aren't, it's a little icon on the left side that says Artifacts, and you click on that, and then you see all the cool artifacts that people are working on. Like this is like a kind of a shared zone where you can just explore what other people are doing. So maybe I'll just read a few kind of cool ones. There's a little cool one here that says QR code generator, right? Now, what is a QR code generator? You give it a URL and it gives you a QR code back. Now, if this process is meaningful to you because you want to repeat it over and over again, well, just convert it into a mini app, right? There's a huge amount of time saving if you're just like going with this mindset of, hey, if I automate, if I use something more than 3 times, it's worth automating, because why should I have to do it by hand every single time or pay for an app? You can get it for free. So QR code generator is one example. There's others like gosh, there's so many here. Just goes on and on. Some meeting note summary, one pager PRD marker, oh gosh. Anyway, so team activity ideas. There's a lot that you can create, and then you can have it be interactive where you can actually have a little kind of input field where someone can provide parameters, and then this app can do something and, generate a response. So I think these are examples that you guys can explore on your own, just to spark some ideas, just to get you in the flow. But let me show you something that I've been working on and I created recently. So I'm going to go into my artifacts, and you can see I have a bunch of them. Some of them are accidental because I didn't ask it to create an artifact. It just did it because of that split screen thing. But if you want to create a new artifact as an intentional kind of exercise, like an app or a website or whatever, you can actually go here on the top right where it says new artifact, and you click on that, and then you can see what's possible. So I just clicked on it, and now you can see here there is app and websites, documents and templates, games, productivity tools, creative projects, quizzes, summaries, and something that you want to start from scratch. So there's different options to guide this artifact creation process. Let's say I click into apps and websites. Well, then it can, start guiding you. What kind of app do you want to create? What kind of specs should it have? And honestly, these apps don't have to be super, large scale apps. They can be just simple things that, we use on a daily basis. For example, let me show you one app that I created. It's a campaign builder, right? I'm a PPC person, right? So we need these kinds of things all the time. Like we want to be able to build campaigns, and it's a repeatable process. So I just started chatting with Claude and said I want to build this campaign uh, structure which follows a pattern over and over again, where the SKU name is part of the campaign name, and then it has some tags that get determined based on whether this campaign is for a B2C audience or a B2B audience. And I also want some business logic, like for non-branded campaigns, I don't want the branded keywords to be part of the campaign. And for branded campaigns, I want them to be tagged a certain way, and so on. So I can put whatever business logic I want, and I basically choose the match type, etc. All of these are interactive pieces that Claude put together for me as I was just speaking to it. So it literally took a very high level instruction and converted it into this little app. And then it also asked me for my branded terms, and I added my branded terms. And I can also give it like bidding strategy. Is it up and down only, fixed bids? What's my default bid? What's my daily budget? What's my placement, top of search, product pages, rest of search, and Amazon business pages? And then I can say create campaigns. Now, just because it's going to be a lot of data, I'm just going to simplify this and just use one SKU. And then I'm just going to show you guys what it did. Okay. And I'm just going to use maybe, okay, 2 keywords, right? I got 2 keywords, lion's mane supplement and mushroom nootropic. And I'm going to pick this to be a B2C target audience. I'm going to pick it to be an exact match campaign. I'm just going to say down only for now. Budget is fine, $50, etc. Now I'm going to click on this green button, and it's doing its thing. It's done it, right? So essentially, it's created like this table here at the bottom that says what the SKU was, what the keyword was, campaign tags, B2C audience, and so on. So now I can simply copy this table and give it to one of my team members and say, hey, with all these specs, go create a campaign that follows this instruction. Or I could just say generate Amazon bulk file. Now I'm actually still working on this because it had some bugs at the last minute, so I couldn't show you the whole bulk file, but essentially my goal is to create a bulk file right from this. So any new person that wants to create like a simple campaign builder can do it this way. So yeah, so I think the sky is the limit when it comes to having this kind of artifact creation. Now, just to add, I know, Danny, you have had a lot of experience with artifacts as well, and I really like Danny's artifacts because they are also very interactive, and they kind of give you, yeah, a lot of tips, and maybe you can speak on that, Danny. But essentially, if I want to change anything about this app, let's say I want to change what I want in my first section, second section, I can just chat with it and say, replace product information with something else. And it'll do it. Like it's a live thing. It's a live artifact that can be edited multiple times. And then once you're done, what do you do with it, right? There's two options. One, you can go in the top right corner and say download as HTML. So now this becomes a standalone little app that sits on your desktop. Don't need internet for this. You can do it anytime. You can also distribute that HTML to your team, give it out, whatever, freebie, etc., etc. Or the other option is you can publish it. And where do you publish it? You don't need any fancy web server, none of that. You publish it on Claude. It basically gives you the option to publish on the Claude servers, and all it does is it asks you for permission to because obviously it's going to be hosted and everybody can see it. Now, not everybody's going to be able to find it easily, so it's almost like on YouTube you have these unlisted videos, right, where you can share that link with whoever you want, but it's not generally available for searching, etc. So something like that. So essentially, you can publish it. And now you have an internet-based version of this artifact that anyone from your team can use, anybody else can use, you can share it. So it's like do it once and use it 50,000 times. You know, that's basically the beauty of an artifact that kind of lives here. One last thing to say here is that it maintains version history, which means all of the previous versions that you've worked on are all here, and you can just go straight to those in case you want to, you know, revive something that went wrong and you want to fix that. It's almost like rollback. You can do a rollback as well. And yeah, and it just lives on in your chat history, and you can go back to it at any time. I would say though, and Danny, I would love to hear your experience on this as well. I am on the $20 a month plan, right? Which means I have a certain number of tokens. There's only so much I can do with Claude, which is quite a bit, honestly. It allows me to do quite a lot. But I have noticed that some artifacts where I kind of go deep and have back and forth multiple times, many versions, at some point it kind of stops working. It says, you know, you have run out of credits, and so this is not going to continue, like they won't let you continue that conversation. So that's the only thing to kind of watch out for, in which case I generally copy the whole I download the HTML and I start over. I give that HTML to a new chat and I say, hey, you did this for me in another chat, now continue on, and so on. Danny, you have any experience in that area? Like, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can
Yeah,
chime in.
so what we can
Mhm.
do, publish that for me and just drop that into WhatsApp because I can now remix that. So I can take what you got there, I can debug, I can remix it, and I've built what's called quality gates. You know, like the exposure of too many tokens and build and stuff. So I've got a system. It's called the Brain. I couldn't think of a better name for it. But the idea
Nice.
is that I put in quality gates, and within those quality gates, it gives me warnings with inside the project instructions and whatever's placed in the knowledge base. So I've got my own like design systems, and so I can take what you've got there, I can remix it, and I can say apply the Curve Tools design system, and then it will rebuild it with like a beautiful front end design, logos and stuff like that. So you've got a lot of opportunity to customize and to deal with the situation that you face. Again, on the $20, right? I'm on the 75 plan,
Okay.
so there a way to reduce the technical debt. So
Mm.
depending on what you want to build, I would normally precursor the conversation is like, how much room do we have left in the conversation for
Nice.
context and
Love it.
tokens? And it will come
Hmm.
back and say, okay, we've only used X, Y, and Z. Um, there's enough room to build this. And I'll go, well, if it's more complex, well, this might go over two conversations. So it creates me a handoff document. And it goes back to the thing earlier on, you know, like really investing in something like Claude, it
Mm.
makes you push it further when you haven't got the distraction of flicking between different platforms because
Yes.
you know they've got some level of improvements or they've introduced something that's new because everyone picks up on that in say 2 weeks time. So if you'd like, if you share that URL with me, um,
Hmm.
we can show people how to remix something. Now
Yeah.
there is a downside of remixing is I'll show you in a moment.
Hmm. Yes.
um,
I
you
can
can't
paste it somewhere.
you
Hmm.
can't click and remix and then take it into your project that you've programmed and have a system for. It goes into your general Claude account, which means is that because of that, it isn't a project in itself. So a lot of the stuff that you set up. So what you mentioned earlier on, you download the file and then upload the HTML versus the remixing if you got special project instructions. Yeah. If you throw that onto our
Yeah,
chat, I'll
I
grab it
did.
from. Oh,
Yeah,
it's in
I
there.
just
Okay.
yeah, yes.
Okay, so I'll do that then. Let's go down
Yeah,
to
great.
the
This is
chat
awesome,
here.
guys. We're doing this live. This
Yeah.
is cool.
Okay. So just want to close some stuff on my side that's not going to be shown on the screen. Okay. So let me share my screen. Okay. So like you mentioned here, we've got a series of artifacts here that you can pick and choose from, and that you can start the artifact from here. But what I've taken is, for instance, this is Ritu's here. So she shared me the public link. And now when you click on customize here, that will take it into your Claude project, like so. So if I customize this artifact, this is now going into Claude, right, outside of a project. So if I wanted to get this to do certain things, I'm now restricted. There is no way for me to take it to, say, my brain project, which has got the design system in and the stuff that I mentioned earlier on. Now, there's a couple of things you can do. You can go into your settings. Now, what I've got this set up is, instead of having my profile set up as, you know, I like this, I like that, etc., etc., I've got it set up for all of my MCPs that takes every one of my projects over into Notion. So you can put generic project information here. So if I wanted to build out what we're discussing at the moment, I could store it here. So that is one way around being very customized. Or the other way is we just go back into the we go back into here, and then what I'll do is I'll download it as HTML. Okay. Let's just throw this onto the desktop for now. And then what I want to do, I'll come out of here for a moment, just because of private information on projects on the screen. And then I'll take it to where it's meant to go. Upload file. And then I'll share the screen again. Okay, let me come back and share the screen. Okay. So you can see this is, it's Danny Brainbot, to ignore the stupid naming for it. But if we to go into here, what I've got is, this is a master version that I share across all of my different projects. And I have a lot of Claude projects for various different reasons. So I've got confidence check, perspective check, audience check, simplicity check, efficiency check, ADHD response automate, optimize for me. I don't want to see like long walls of text. I want the 80-20 towards everything. And if I ask you a question, I don't want you to hallucinate. I need you to go through your reasoning a number of times and then confirm to me. When I say you're hallucinating, go and use the quality gate. You'll go through and go, I got this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. So with the N8N flow builder, it could make a lot of mistakes. And then you're going to waste a lot on the use of tokens unnecessarily. And then it just goes through all the different types of builds that I have, you know, build browser, prototype, full spec versions. It's endless over a period of time. Look, conversational, budget critical. So these are something that you should build. Everyone should build their own quality gates for themselves. Then that way, I go back to always what the point is, you're only limited with AI by your imagination, right? And we had this discussion, you and I, is that you're more left brain engineering, very, you know, you're good at following systems. I'm chaotic, all over the place, and can't do the same thing in the same order twice, right? But I need to be able to use tools like this that is methodical. You think about prompt engineering, you want to get the right output. Now I have to build the gap tools to allow me to be random, working
Hmm.
in natural language, and then it
Yep.
converts it to what it needs to get the output. Does that make sense? So
Yeah, that makes sense.
these are just
Yeah.
things that we've built over time, and you should develop your own versions. I like to do voice prompting, etc., etc.
Mm.
And I think that helps with pushing the level of creativity that you can do. You are
Right.
only limited by your resources, right? And your imagination in most cases. And your resources, access to engineering, access to finances, access to etc. So
Mm.
what I want to be able to do now is I now want to rebuild from the HTML, okay?
Hmm.
But I
Yeah.
want to be able to use this project instructions to allow me to build that, okay?
Mm.
So my instruction, I'll just use a software that I've got here, VoiceC, that I use to work as part of my workflow.
Hmm.
Can you take the source code of this remixed HTML code? We want to rebuild this using the Curve design system. Prior to that, can you let me know any qualifying questions that you may have before deploying any code and technical debt in order to reproduce this artifact? Okay, so we'll see how that goes.
Mm.
So here comes the qualifying questions.
Mm. Hmm. Love it. Yeah, it's so interesting. What I'm seeing there is it's asking for clarifications on the business logic that is
Hmm.
kind of embedded in the HTML. So,
Yeah,
for example, my naming convention says SPKW is a tag for sponsored product keyword um, campaigns. And so
yeah,
I use that in my encoding, and it's completely understood the naming convention, and it's asking questions that are very, very relevant. This is amazing. Oh, this is cool, Danny. I love that it has a section on error handling because
yes.
errors, you want to make sure that any kind of edge cases are taken care of when
Mm.
it comes to any sort of app, right? It's just something that you need to be aware of. Like, what are the edge cases of, where things could fail, basically.
Yeah.
So this is great.
So what we could do firstly, the to take a little bit of a step back, there's other things that we can also think about. When you deploy to say build X, Y, and Z, you have a situation where depending on the complexity, if you haven't qualified that or you don't have quality gates, you ask it to build something that one, it may not be able to build in terms of being a useful artifact, i.e. plug in APIs directly in without leaving the artifact. So that's obviously not a consideration that you can do. You can simulate that it would work like this. It would need this API to plug in. So, and the amount of code that is going to be generated as part of the technical debt. So I could rebuild this. And when we look at no code platforms, and I think this is still the case, most of them,
Mm.
they don't work, meaning when you ask them, you said about rollback and having history. How many times have
Yes.
you said, can you make these changes, and it doesn't do it? But it'll tell you it
Yeah.
does, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's because it doesn't look at the full code base. It looks at a percentage. So
Yeah.
when you ask it to review the code base and check it for any issues, it'll say, yes, it will. But it will be done on a percentage. So if you're working with a small amount of code, it will cover most of it and fix the problem. Then you'll get to a stage that the code base gets larger, so does your percentage get smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So if you build really fast at the very beginning, you're going to have a lot of issues with debugging. So a couple of things that you can do. I don't want to add confusion, but I'm just thinking for people for later on. Ask it to build you a wireframe representation of the features. The second thing is, if you want to work out what it's going to do, you can ask it to build an environment. So you can build the logic in there. That reduces the technical debt. So you can do the wireframe. This is what it's going to look like roughly without, just a quick layout. Secondly is what's the logic? So you can go back and forth and have that conversation without burning too much conversation
Mm.
credits, you know, like tokens and usage and
Right.
context window.
Yes. Mm.
And then you can work out, okay, now we've got that, you can ask it for a handoff document, which means you can then take it to the new conversation and build and use Opus, because again, that's going to use more. So
Mhm.
there's various different ways that you can do it as you get more experienced with doing that. But right now, just build artifacts. This is fun. Go
Right.
in, build what you want to build, play around with it. There is no rules to a certain level. And then you're going to find a system and a rhythm that you like to work to, that you go,
Mhm.
okay, you know, you might start go, roll me out a wireframe, basic wireframe in the conversation chat. So you're not using a lot of technical debt in the artifacts window. Then you say, we need to build a logic. You go back and forth, had the discussion, and you go, okay, can we build this? And then you can ask it how much room we got left in the conversation. You might say, now is time to prepare the handoff document and then start a fresh new conversation. Now, people will say Opus is the best for coding. I agree. Now, when you're building and you don't know exactly what you want and you're trying to find your rhythm, it's probably best to start with Sonnet to go back and forward to galvanize and get your ideas down. But when you do build, start a new conversation, bring in that handover document, and then start with Opus. And then you won't get necessarily chucked into the 5 hour sim bin, as I like to call it. You know, in the you on the 20, I'm on the 75. So
Yeah.
it still happens to me if I'm not careful,
Oh,
if
okay.
it just runs ahead and builds. Because I
Yes.
think what
Yeah.
happens is
Hmm.
you at 20 will get 5 times more than someone who's on free, and then I get
Yeah.
5 times more than someone who's on 20.
Hmm.
But
Right. Yeah.
it's still kind of capped, so you still have to be make
Right.
these adjustments. All right, so let's
Yeah.
think about what we want to do in
Hmm.
terms of the logic. You've read through here. This is your app, so you know much more about it than me. For these
Hmm.
qualifying questions, is there anything that stands out for you that I can?
So yeah, so I mean, it's talking about data validation,
Mm.
and I'm not sure what curve design is. It must be your, like you said, this was
It's yeah,
your
it's the
framework,
branding.
right?
Yeah, so if we go to curve design, I'll go to here, for instance. This
Hmm.
is my curve designing, right? So this is the output of
Okay,
what our finished products look like.
got it, got
Product
it. Okay.
title, optimizer. So we use this curve design system. And then
Hmm.
once I've finished with writing the logic and everything I need to do, I hand off to the team and then design polish up and then it gets deployed where
Got it,
required.
got it. So okay,
Yeah.
got it. So there's some like systematization of the way you guys operate within your organization to generate those sorts of apps. And that's what you're calling the curve design spec
Yeah,
or
so
curve
these are
design guidelines.
curve.
Okay.
Yeah, so where the name come from, curve meaning ahead of the curve, because the stuff that we build don't
Nice.
exist.
Oh yeah.
So we're filling the gaps in between stuff, you know, like
Sure. Yeah.
yeah. So they're just examples. Some of the, but what you don't want to do is if I'm going to use this font and this glow on top of the text here, and I'm going to use this logo, and I'm always going to have a sub description.
Hmm.
And if I'm going to be using like a file uploader, you know, like
Yeah.
with yours, like you can then upload the file and then you can set the headers and write the logic.
Hmm.
I want to get to this stage fast. I don't want to
Yeah.
have to keep going through and say,
Love it.
let's spend 4 hours getting to this stage and then we'll write some
Hmm.
logic. Does that make sense? So,
Yeah.
what we
Totally,
did
totally. Yeah.
is then brought in the curve system. So, if we go back to here and go to the knowledge base,
Mm.
we'll find everything in and around the curve system somewhere in here. It's quite a long.
And sorry, a question there, Danny. So this is you basically set a separate project aside just for curve specifications and for curve, just to define what the system is, right? So that you can quickly get to the fonts, the colors, the style, etc. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
so what
Okay.
happens is each project is different, right? So let's
Mm.
say I've got N8N project, which is the flow builder. So I've scraped N8N, all the help pages, knowledge base, everything else in N8M, and then
Yeah.
I've scraped a load of advanced YouTube videos.
Hmm.
Now, what will happen, that then becomes a set of files that have been synthesized down so that the project knowledge base is small. So I do that in somewhere like Manus, or I do it in GenSpark. But there are standard set things, meaning if I'm working and I want to make sure whatever I'm building, I want reduced technical debt, I want to make sure it actually renders in the browser, mobile and stuff, there's going to be standard things like the quality gate at the top, right? This
Right.
is in everything. I want this quality check in every project.
Makes sense.
So
Yeah.
let's
Smart.
say
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
personalized system is added to your project type system.
Makes
So if
sense.
NAN is a project, but we'll have some of the quality gates
Yep.
that work with NAN, but it'll be different because the
Different. Yeah.
NAN project, when it outputs it as an artifact, so you get a visual representation of what flow you're putting together and how the flow is joined, that looks like NAN. So I would use the NAN design system for that.
Makes
But I
sense.
would still need to make sure that the mobile rendering, or when you're building an artifact, if you do mind map, quite often it overlays. So there's no padding. So you have to then keep tweaking the artifact, right? And say, debug this, can you move this? And so over time, you start to build these systems.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so let's go in
Yeah.
and build the curve system. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? We can just, I can then get it to deploy.
Yeah.
Should we replace mood blends with configuration, brand name, add logo? I just want to show
Sure.
the
I mean,
build part. Yeah. Go on.
yeah, go ahead. Like, let's assume that, you got the business logic and the
Yeah.
inputs and outputs from my system, and now you want to render it as per your curve system. How do we
Yeah.
do that? So go ahead and yeah,
Yeah.
let's try that out. I'm excited to see what happens.
Next step is to deploy the curve system. We can come back to some of the technical considerations unless there's stuff that needs to be highly specified before building. So use the curve design, the logo, the footer, the text. This is purely for a demonstration purpose for people to understand that you can create your own design system, and then we will come back to some of the other elements. First, come back with qualifying questions and let me know how much technical debt there will be in order to build this in this side of this conversation. Okay. Let's see what it says. You mentioned a good thing earlier on. Sometimes it just go ahead and build without asking you to build.
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
so curve design, deployment qualifying questions, branding application, yeah, selection visual.
Yeah, I really like your token impact assessment because it's telling you ahead of time how much it's going to consume. That's really smart.
Yeah.
So you're being so intentional at every stage of the development process. Like this is next level.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to show people where they can get to, and that you
Yes.
don't have to be a programmer. Neither's a programmer. I think you know more about programming than I do. My thing is, I'm trying to encourage people not to be put off by AI,
Yes.
or you've got to do it this way, and that person over there seems really, really smart and clever. I believe you can pretty much bend AI to your will as long as you're able to ask the right question or find the right question to ask. It then
Right.
leads to the results down the road. You might have to go in different directions to get there,
Yeah.
but I think asking the right questions is far more important than prompt engineering, because prompt engineering can be created as a side effect of answering the right questions and qualifying tools to do the prompt engineering bit. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Okay, so let's have a look at here. What we will include: full curve design, yeah, additional quick design decisions needed. Button style should generate campaigns, remain green or use the purple. Okay, stats card, keep purple, table. I don't need to record that. Keep all as curve. So what I'll do, because it's going to take a bit of time to start
Hmm.
generating that,
Right. Yeah.
this will take a bit of while. So if we come back and refine on what we covered so far,
Yep.
do you want to give us a recap from the top?
Yeah, so basically we're exploring the concept of mini apps using Claude. And so we use this concept of artifacts. We talked a little bit about general purpose artifacts, samples, templates that are already there in their library, or you can start from scratch. And I gave the example of a campaign builder for PPC that takes in some inputs, generates some outputs. And then what we did was we published that and shared that published link to Danny. Now, Danny's operating in his system, and he's just going to take my published app, and then he's going to tweak it and modify it based on his framework that he has been building over the years, I would say. And it's come to a point where it's very predictable in terms of like where he wants to place the logo, what the font should look like, what the whole look and feel of the app should be without having to define this step over and over again. So I totally agree with that whole mindset of do it once and use it multiple times. Like you want to set up things, set up environments, set up guardrails and things like that. Like you, I love the word quality check that you
Mm.
used. That's great. Quality checks are in place. You've got projects that have settings and so on. So, using that system, you can actually further refine your output from Claude and make it more kind of polished and ready for use in a way that maybe you can even distribute it and create apps that other people can use and so on. So there's some amount of standardization across everything that Danny does with his instructions. So whether you are a first timer using Claude and generating some artifacts that are one-offs, that's fine. I mean, we don't want to intimidate you with like the level of expertise that has been gathered over time. Just start somewhere, like
Mm.
using simple apps that you can use daily, simple calculators, like just basic things. And then as you go along and get more advanced, you will remember this discussion we've had, and then maybe perhaps generate your own system or lean on what Danny's created and do something similar to that with your quality checks and gates and stuff like that. You just need to know what's possible. You don't have to do it yet, but you'll get there. And so, we'd really encourage everyone to get started. I think Danny and I, we share the same mission, which is to enable and empower people to be able to use AI effectively in their day-to-day. So hopefully that was a good enough recap. Let me know if I missed anything, and interested to see if the curve is done, the curvification
We're
of
we're
my
getting
app.
we're getting closer. This is the
Getting
part where it
closer.
does take a little bit of time, and
Okay.
hopefully we don't get the usual Claude signal. We had it last week when me and Awana were working, and Claude fell
Yeah.
over as it tends to do quite
Yeah.
often nowadays, right? It can be a
Yeah.
bit unreliable, but we're
Yeah.
pretty much getting towards the end of it. It's still writing code at the moment. We're
Okay.
going
That
through at the
makes sense.
moment. It's
Yeah.
on console log, so it's going through the campaign row, bidding adjustment rows. Because there's quite a lot of logic you've put in there, isn't there?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
So
funny how this basically took no more than an hour to put together. Like I was literally starting and finishing it in one session without any breaks, and it was like an hour-long project because I wanted it out and done with. And it I could have improved the logic a lot more, but yeah, it did pick up quite a few of my requirements there.
yeah, I mean the other thing, going back to like to get started with artifacts. If you're a bit
Hmm.
concerned with building, go to the artifacts window, right, and then from there you'll be able to select it and bring it into your own project. Then you can take what's there and remix it. And if you then you're not affecting anything if you break it. If it's a good way to practice on something if you're not sure of how to build something.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
see how this works. You'll know better than me how this works. So let's bring this back up on the screen and see if it's going to be able to deliver the goods. Right, share the screen. Okay, here we go. Generate
Awesome.
target supplement campaigns for mood, mushrooms, and longevity. All this stuff that you can change, but you now got a general idea of it's. It cleans up the interface. You can do whatever you want in terms of design. There's no limitation. This is using like a card system, so a little bit of transparency underneath. You'll learn more about these kind of things once you get used to it in terms of what to expect. If you notice with Claude, they'll give you any colors it decides to choose, and you could be inside the same conversation and generate two artifacts that are not using the same colors, fonts, or anything else. It's just random. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
love it.
let me publish this and share it back to you, and then you can bring it on screen
Yeah.
and have a play with it, and then you can tell me what's wrong with it because you're closer to the beat when it comes to this, right? So
Okay, awesome.
I'll copy this link and I'll share this over to you,
Okay.
and you can then tell and show everyone if it did work. So that's come over to you now.
Got it. Okay. All right. So now I have Danny's enhanced version of my original app that I created in Claude. And so this is what it looks like. It's very cool. And let me just interact with it to see if there's any errors or bugs that it introduced, because it could do that, but it looks
Yeah.
like it's kept everything intact. Now, this is just meant to be like a placeholder, and it starts you off with some keywords, but those don't have to be the final keywords. I'm just going to do exact match, and then I'm going to say generate campaigns, and it did exactly the right thing. So it's got the whole setup the way it was on my system. Just for comparison, this is what my system looks like, and mine has no color coordination with like it's meant to be an in-house app, so I don't really need the kind of um, the polished look that Danny's system has, but it's done a great job using just a few kind of settings and like the framework of Danny's requirements and polished it up quite a bit. So yeah, I think this is great. I love the collaboration, especially the live collaboration, because honestly,
Yeah.
I didn't know that we were going to do this. So this is fun
Yeah.
to know, how you can take it the extra mile and do this thing in a repeatable, predictable sort of way, which is fantastic.
Well,
I just
this
love
is
it.
how you can encourage people to work together. There was,
Yeah.
because normally you would have to deploy code, right? So you'd have to deploy
Hmm.
it. You have to have a repro. Again, I'm not a programmer, but this gives you an opportunity now. Let's say you're a seller and you're working on something, and you go, check this out. That person can take it further. It goes back to you don't need to have a design system and everything else, but you could work with a team member and say, we need to bring all this data in. How can we slice and dice this and
Yeah.
actually build the logic in an environment which is less technical debt? Instead of say build app, just say we want to build an environment like a sandbox. I
Yeah.
tell it what you want it to do, and then it will work like that before you convert into the app. Or you want to
Mm.
go, I want to get an idea for how I want to lay out this data before you build. Just request it to in the chat to build like a mermaid style or a very basic wireframe. At
Mhm.
least you get a visual version. You go, oh yeah, it's missing that, and then you tell it to build. Then that way
Yeah.
again, you can start to get what you want. The worst thing to do is not know anything about what you want and say, build me
Mm.
a social network like Facebook, and you just watch
Yeah.
your account go into the sin bin.
Yeah.
You're done. You cooked.
Yeah. 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 Love
You're at
it.
a
Love it.
service for 5 hours. All right. Shall we? I think we've had a good coverage there. I
Yeah.
think we've shown people that you can just work with each other with this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just about getting your hands dirty, learning what you can along the way. But this is great for things like a lot of Amazon sellers do not have enough time. You know this, has been in
Hmm.
the game 10 years like me, right? Most of the time, long list, not enough time, too much glue to
Yeah.
run through. Use artifacts, build stuff, encourage your
Yeah.
teams to do it, and then remix the artifacts. They only get better. So think about these, I call them grunt tools. They do one specific thing, saves time. and then you can put a skin on it, or you can send it along and someone says, we need to adapt this. Let me remix it. They get it, make the changes, make it better, send it back, and it's more collaborative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Excellent.
Awesome.
First show. This is obviously the second show, but your first one. You liking the vibe? Where we're going with
I
it?
love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
the title is so appropriate. Go with the
Mm.
flow. I
Yeah.
love it because we're talking about like automation, workflows, and AI, and just our style is going to be flowy, like you guys saw today.
Mm.
It's going to be spontaneous and on the spot, live, and we bring everything to you, the good, the bad, the ugly, all the limitations and the pros and cons and everything just the way it is, so that you can learn from our
Mm.
mistakes and our distillation of experiments that we've done so far with all these AI apps and tools that we live and eat every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, great.
Cool. So, as one of the goats in the game when it comes to AI, what's the best way that people can reach you? You got your newsletter. You cover a lot of ground here. Do you want to let people
Yeah.
know?
Sure. So the newsletter, it comes out Tuesdays, and it is AI for e-commerce newsletter. And the link to subscribe is ppc-ninja.com. So it's ppc-ninja.com. You can go there and look at all of my previous posts on all kinds of topics with AI. And then, of course, I'm active on LinkedIn. So just look for my full name, Ritu Java, Ritujava. And yeah, hit me up there or just follow along. And of course, this channel with Danny. So
Cool. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. All the information will be in the show notes. I'll be back here again 4 p.m. Tuesday next week. I think next week is one of the Tuesdays of the year where there's a fifth Tuesday. So we have the Tuesday of week 1, 2, 3, and our one is week 4. I think there's a fifth one next week. So that's going to be a wild card show. So we're not sure what we're going to do, but we will be here at 4 p.m. next week. So take care of yourself and your family. Much love, and I'll see you again soon.
thank you.